Today we're going to check out the WiiM Amp Ultra. And a thank you to WiiM for sending this over for me to review. Included are binding post adapters, a USB-C cable, the power cord, remote control, HDMI cable, RCA cables, and an optical cable. The WiiM Amp Ultra itself is really small, measuring only 7.8 inches in width by 8.3 inches in depth by 3 inches in height, and it weighs only 5.5 pounds. Around back are unbalanced RCA ins, a mono subwoofer output, LAN input, HDMI output, optical in, and the power inlet. And here are the speaker terminals, which you can use those adapters for. It's rated at 100 watts per channel into 8 ohms or 200 watts per channel into 4 ohms using two Texas Instruments TPA 3255 Class D amplifier chips, and you'll find an ESS 9039 Q2M DAC inside. Alright, now to get everything set up, you will have to download the app, which is available on either Android Google Play Store or on the iOS App Store. I am using this on the iPad. So from here, you can see that this is the main page and this is going to bring up your devices. But along the top half here, we've got your favorites, which you can predefine as your different presets per your stations, per app. Under Browse, this is where you have your source inputs on the top row, your library, My Tracks, My Music, your own home music share server, and then your music services. So if you are subscribed to any of these, you would input your information there. The only main service that is missing is going to be the Apple Music service. Now, if you are an Apple Music subscriber and you want to stream over to the WiiM Amp Ultra, you will have to use Android's version of the Apple Music app. From there, you can cast it losslessly over to the WiiM Amp. Otherwise, you can't do it from your Apple device, such as your iPhone or your iPad. Because on the lower corner here, you can see these are all of the available devices I have on my network, and the WiiM Amp Ultra does not show up. All right, so the next section here is going to be your devices. We've got search. So if you want to search by artist, track, album, playlist, etc., you would input that in the search box there. Now, if we go back to devices, we click on the little cog right next to the volume slider. From here, we can see we can rename the amp ourselves. We can pick our predefined names, which are located on the bottom. We've got your device information. You can set some alarms if you want to wake this up at a predefined time. We've got different presets. Once again, we've got your network status. We've got standby mode, which you can choose between 30 seconds up to never. We've got your remote control settings. So if you have a new remote control, you want to pair it with the device, you could start pairing here. Here we've got the screen settings. You can turn on or off the display. You could turn on or off the adaptive brightness. So this will brighten or dim depending on your ambient light in your main room. We've got your standby screen wallpaper, so you can choose between these different clocks. And then from here, this is the playback screen. So this will give you some different layouts of what your main screen will look like while you are playing music. And if you want to run that screensaver clock in 24 hours, that is the last option under the screen settings. We have other options here, such as your subwoofer out, your EQ. You could turn this on or off. You can set an EQ per source. So we've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, HDMI line, and then optical. And you can see we have several different bands here. And then you have some predefined preset settings here for your predefined EQ. And then under parametric EQ, we have 10 different PEQ bands, which you can adjust the frequency gain and then the Q. So this is pretty customizable as far as the audio settings. And then here you can customize how you want your DAC to process the sound. So we got a few different options here. And then for voice and streaming settings, we've got Amazon Alexa settings, Google Chromecast, Squeeze Light, and then we have more streaming services there as well. We've got the status light, which is on the front of the volume knob. You can turn that on or off. Then the volume knob steps, we have fine adjustment, which is 1, small steps, medium, large, or then just quick adjustments. And then you can turn on or off the prompt sound, and then if you want to reboot the device, you can do that here as well. All right, so this was a fun one.
Absolutely.
I was really looking forward to checking this out because this little piece of equipment has been maybe the most popular integrated mini amplifier of 2025. So everyone, if you're watching this video, you've probably seen a dozen of these videos already. So I was really happy to get this in for review. I also got the subwoofer in for review as well. But first off, let's just talk about how this thing performed on its own using our reference pair of speakers, which is the Perlisten R5T towers. And we also paired this up with some Martin Logan ESL-X's, which are one of my favorite pair of speakers, super detailed sounding, Also, kind of bass limited, so we did pair that up with the WiiM Ultra subwoofer. And we also, this is not going to be an A/B apples to apple comparison. We did compare the WiiM with a Lingdorf TDAI 3400, which is a $7,500 integrated. While this is what, 400 bucks?
400 bucks.
400 bucks. So yeah.
About half the power.
About half the power, about 20 times cheaper the price.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, man, you give your thoughts first.
It did everything really nice. It's got great presence, great imaging, nice low end. And considering what it's working with for power, we were real surprised. Now, we did tie it up to a nice pair of speakers, and that kind of helps.
Yeah.
The speakers weren't giving anything extra. You know, like you said, they're very flat response. So if your amp or your processor can't push it, it's not going to sound good. We used our standard catalog for testing. It's Rolling Stones' Sympathy for the Devil. It did a very nice job with that, especially with that song. One of the things you're looking for, the hallmark, is the spatial imaging, because there's so many different things going on in that song. And we know, from having listened to it so many times, where things are supposed to be, where Mick is supposed to be, where the congas are supposed to be, where, you know, Keith Richards' guitar comes out of. Now, we just use the Lingdorf because whenever you're listening to something, you want to have some kind of frame of reference to compare it to just to make sure you're hearing what you think you're hearing.
Yeah. Again, this is our subjective take on these pieces.
Completely subjective. There are some things that are objective, obviously, but this was just sort of our take on how it sounded to us. When you compare it next to the Lingdorf, there are certain differences, and a lot of that is largely due to just the power output. And then, you know, there are some differences with the processing. So,
you know, with that Sympathy for the Devil track, one thing that we had listened to was that guitar solo with Keith Richards. What did you think about that? That can be really bright on certain amplifiers and speakers.
That is one of the, besides the spatial imaging, that's the other reason we use it, because if you're testing speakers, it can test the wherewithal of your tweeter. And if you're testing processors, it can test how much it can handle with your top end. With this particular one, with the WiiM, it can get screechy if you don't have the power to drive the signal. So with this one, it sounded great until you got to that real, you know, he's really bending that note, and it got a little screechy, a little kind of hard to listen to.
Yeah.
Compared to, say, the Lingdorf, which it had enough power, so it sounded much less
edgier sounding, brighter sounding. Yeah, it was a little smoother sounding when we pushed it to higher levels.
That was the word, smooth. I couldn't think of the word.
I mean, not that the WiiM was bad at all, but just when we were back and forth comparing them, we definitely heard the difference between the two. Mm-hmm. So I mean, if you don't have anything to compare it to, you probably just think it's fine, which it does sound fine. Well, but just the top end smoothness is going to go to the Lingdorf, which it's $7,500, of course.
$7,500 and 400 watts per channel.
Yeah,
I think it doesn't have to work quite as hard. And then,
but kind of like a moderate level, though.
No, absolutely. And for that thing to be able to push these Perlis and Tower speakers, that's special, because
I mean, it's got enough juice. We played that Vince Staples song "Samo," which has a lot of bass in it.
Yeah,
and we didn't feel like it was struggling at all, filling in 30 hertz. Maybe 25 hertz bass in my space. Maybe it's different for yours, but I'm getting some good 20, 25 hertz extension in here out of the Perlissons. And going back and forth with the Lingdorf, I mean, it just hung in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. And then we had that, one of the bass songs we used for testing is a Chinese, it's a drum, poem of the Chinese drums.
Yep. That
sounded fantastic across, from the super low end, like you said, 25, 30 hertz, to I don't know what the top end of that is. I mean, it's all drums. But even the mid range, it drove everything equally.
Yeah, I mean, we still heard some really nice top end detail. You know, every time he would strike the drum, you hear the actual
the decay of the drum head.
Yep. You can hear that little bit of twang.
Yep.
Just kind of reverb, just right in the background, just a little bit, almost like it's in your room.
Yeah. You can hear the drum head decay, the note decay in the drum head. You could hear the cabinet itself.
Detail Sweet Jane, you can hear her lips on the mic, kind of the spittle of her lips, which is good. Which also brings us to the sibilancy of that song. Every time she would say sweet, not as present. Is it not as present?
Not as present as
the Lingdorf.
Lingdorf. And again, so you're talking about a song that was recorded in one take in a church in Toronto, and they were all basically just arrayed around one microphone. And this song sounds phenomenal. It's got such a warm atmosphere,
Yeah.
and you can hear her notes. And she's very breathy when she sings.
Yeah.
From Cowboy Junkies. So when she gets, her S's are very sibilant and very whispery. And with the Lingdorf, it was great. You heard all of that very present. With the WiiM, you didn't get quite that, the level of depth in those notes.
Yeah, it was a little softer on the top end.
Right.
For whatever reason, yeah.
But it did capture the sound of the space really nicely.
Yeah.
You didn't lose any of that. Like you hear that and you instantly know this is a live take in a very big space.
But that song is definitely easier, I would say easier to hear on the WiiM than it was on the Lingdorf.
It felt more present, like the band was more in front of you.
Yeah.
Then with the Lingdorf, it kind of expanded the sound a bit. And so, yeah, I think the WiiM did a great job with that song. It did a great job with every song we listened to. One of my favorites is that Ryan Adams version of Wonderwall, and that is because he has a great range of sound. He's got high notes, he's got nice mids in his voice, but then later in the song, the bottom end kicks in. The bass comes on, and that song has great like bass notes. It'll give you quite a bit of rumble, and the WiiM did a great job of capturing that. You didn't lose any of that.
I think the only thing that we mentioned when we reviewed the Lingdorf was that on the bass heavy songs, the louder that we turned it up, I think just because it's kind of 100 watts per channel, the Lingdorf was like 400 per channel. While the bass did sound really good, a lot of nice bottom end, it's really heavy sounding. It's in that song there, every time the bass would hit, the vocals would get drowned out by the bass. So it would almost sound like it was compressing on the louder that you turned it up. So the vocals were a little bit harder to hear.
Right.
Whereas in something more powerful like that Lingdorf processor, the louder that we turned it up, the vocal presence was still there while keeping the bass also intact. So
Right.
it wasn't like one wasn't overpowering the other one.
You've got enough resources power-wise to keep the channels driving, and you're not basically starving one to power the other.
Yeah, it's really snappy sounding. The bass snap, the attack on that, it'll just kick.
Yeah.
Really just kick for this whole thing.
And like we said, so we're comparing. We just for frame of reference, we had the Lingdorf is here, so we're using it, and it's a $7,500 piece, a lot more powerful. We know we're not comparing apples to apples. We're not trying to say, oh, well, this is for the price point, for the sound quality, and for the feature set. Because that's a streaming player,
Yeah.
right? And it's got access to all these the Kobas and the Rune and all that stuff. Everything you're going to think of, it's got access to, and it's got a nice set of features for outputs.
It also has subwoofer outputs as well. Unfortunately, it's only got one subwoofer output, so you can't do stereo bass out of it, which is unfortunate. But it's $400. What do you expect?
Right.
But if you want to make a complete system for under $1,000, you can get the WiiM subwoofer. Included with the subwoofer is the power cord and the RCA cables. It's not too heavy, weighing only 35.2 pounds and measuring 15.57 in width, 11.8 inches in height by 12.7 inches in depth, so it's a fairly compact subwoofer. There is an 8-inch driver located underneath the enclosure, and it is powered by a Class D 250-watt amplifier with a frequency response of 25 Hz to 200 Hz. Around back is the AC inlet, LAN connection, RCA input, and there's a reset button as well. And then we're going to go over to devices, and then we're going to pick on add device. So now once you plug in your subwoofer, click on setup. Once you're connected, click on next. You can give the subwoofer its own specific name if you want to change the name of it. Then we can choose on connection mode. You can choose either between wired, which is recommended for the best connection, and then wireless. Since I just connected to my Wi-Fi network, I'm just going to go ahead and just use wireless. Now from here, we're going to do the subwoofer fit. So from here, we're going to take your device, whether it's your phone or your iPad, put it at your main listening position, and then hold it straight up and down at ear level. So it's going to play a couple of test tones, and then you can see here that this is the measurement graph that it outputs within the app, which is pretty cool. And you can see that I'm getting a huge peak at roughly, I'm going to say about 35 hertz or so before it starts dropping off. And then from here we can view the filter detail. So these are all the PEQ adjustments that it applied to my space. And then we're going to click on next, and then we're going to start the evaluation. It's going to take a second measurement, and then it's going to apply its own specific curve to flatten out that hump that I got about 35 hertz. I'm going to click on apply. I'm going to click on save profile. Let's give it a name, and then that is it. Pretty quick. Now if we back out of this and we go under the subwoofer settings, so from here we can see that you can adjust your subwoofer level here, the crossover frequency, which is at 80 hertz. You can adjust the phase, either 0 or 180 degrees. You can select the profile that you just made, which is already selected here, which is number 1, or if you want to rerun the calibration, you can do that here at the bottom. And then on the bottom here, if you want to unpair the sub, you can do that as well. Aesthetically, it's a really nice looking subwoofer as well. It's glossy black, and when we mix that into the system, you know, we mixed it in with the Martin Logan ESL-X's. If you want to give this more of a fuller bodied sound, it sounded pretty good. I mean, it sounded...
If you're looking for something at a lower price point, this is a great choice. You combine this with a subwoofer and a decent pair of speakers, and you've got yourself a nice system, and you're not spending top dollar. The fact that we can take this and compare it to a $75 piece and not be like, oh, this thing's garbage, you know, that says it all.
I mean, we compared the subwoofer to, unfair comparison, again, to a JL Audio F12 subwoofer, which is a $5,500 subwoofer. The WiiM is $450.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it holds its own with the JL because it just doesn't. The SPL, obviously,
No.
the JL plays better, plays lower. It's a little snappier sounding, but for $450, I mean, it doesn't lag too far behind.
Right.
Well, I think it might be a little bit more, slightly more, less controlled than the JL. Not that it's boomy, but we could tell going back and forth with some of the pop songs we're listening to. It just was it the song, the Taylor Swift song, each one here? Yeah. It was just a little bit better sounding on the JL than it was on the WiiM. But still, listen, if I didn't have the JL on hand, I think it definitely doesn't go as low, but still enough to pressurize this room here. You know, once you get it, once you use the room correction built into the WiiM, you can adjust the delay so that the time alignment with the speakers and the subwoofer are aligned just about perfectly, to give us more of that full-bodied, full-range sound with the Martin Logans.
Right, and that is another feature that I forgot to mention, is the WiiM does have a room correction software.
It just uses your microphone in your cell phone or your mobile device, and it does a really good job. Excellent job. I mean, I think I still prefer it with the room correction off. But there are certain songs, you know, it would change on a song-per-song basis.
In most cases, even with this is just, like I said, I tended to prefer on this and with the Lingdorf the room correction off, only because I'm sitting 8 feet away from the speakers, you know, in a perfect listening position, so I don't need it to fill the room and to do this and that. I'm getting the best sound quality, the best experience I can get based on where I am and what I'm listening to.
So different songs sometimes would sound a little bit better with it on. Certain other songs, you know, something with really heavy bass that you want to tone that extra decay on the subwoofer, the WiiM can do that for you and give it a little bit more focus, a bit more clarity.
Right.
In other songs, you just want that extra bass.
Not everybody listens to music the same way. Some people want to sit in space, they want to sit in a place, listen to the stuff they want to listen to, and just experience, you know, that sound. They want to have that experience.
Yeah.
And other people want to turn sound on and they want to do things in their room, go around, you know, and work or whatever.
I mean, if you're really anal retentive, you just really want the absolute most accurate detail, I guess, out of your recordings and stuff. Having the Lingdorf on hand, it's pretty close.
The comparison wasn't as stark as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it wasn't like a landslide of a win, for
Right.
sure. Definitely worth under $1,000. You get a pretty good sounding system.
Right. And then you look, you know, you build in your system. So you go with the processor, you got the sub, and as long as you've got a decent pair of speakers, I mean, that's where you really want to, when you're starting off, that's where you want to invest your money in the first place is, you know, you get some good speakers, that's the voice, and then you work on everything else.
Well, anyways, guys, those are our thoughts on the WiiM Ultra and the WiiM Subwoofer, which is $450 for the subwoofer. If you want to pick any of these up, there will be some links down in this video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace, guys. Take care.